Welcome to St. Thomas Aquinas Parish at the University of Arkansas. I am Father Jason, and during the season of Lent, as we go through this journey and process along the path of the Lord's death and resurrection, we're going to go through some reflections that can help us, hopefully, in God's grace, understand the Lord's love for us and what this time is all about. Okay, one of the things that is offered to us in the salvation of God and the Spirit leads us to is an understanding of the time and place with which we exist and we find ourselves in our life, and even relative to the world around us or that's gone before us or that will come. And the church calls that reading the signs of the times in the light of faith, where we are, how the Spirit's moving, how we understand what's going on around us that we may understand God's voice, drawing lessons from that. So one of the things that are going on currently, it's like you can't get away from it, it's so ubiquitous, is this concept of how we're going to handle this reality of coronavirus. You see it everywhere and every place. And not that God is somehow speaking to us through that, but there's lessons we can draw and learn about reality and this gift of reason God has given to us. I went through this recently, and it's only gotten a little stronger through now. But the thing we can understand about this concept of coronavirus, or the reality of what's there, or the phobia that's present and reactions or overreactions, is that the world is all tied together and that things affect one another throughout the entire biosphere. We know these things even in certain forms of quantum physics, and we know that just as a species that we're all susceptible to different things, whether or not strongly or weakly in different matters, and that we're all mortal. We're all tied together, and what we do affects one another, even on subtle matters that come about. And that can help us take a good look at who we are, and as Jesus says, even our careless words are something that we should take a look at, and that the hairs on our head are counted by God. We may forget that until something comes into our lives, such as this coronavirus, that helps us be mindful of that. That is why, as went through previously or by our bishop, Bishop Anthony Taylor of Little Rock, having different things we do in liturgy to remind ourselves of that. We're doing things like receiving the Blessed Eucharist in our hands, or not holding hands during the time of the Our Father, or how we do the sign of peace and not touching and offering the precious blood. But what that can do for us is not just that we have preferences with those things, or that there's certain rules, but it helps us be mindful that we don't just receive communion from God, but we're to be in communion with God and with one another. And to be thinking about, albeit sometimes sacrificially to our preferences, how things affect one another. And it may not seem like it's a big deal one way or another that we may do things, but that we're tied together, and we should think about that that's something, at least at this time, to be sacrificial with during Lent. Sacrifice meaning something that makes holy our relationship to God, and thinking about how everything is tied together. That's a way of taking God's grace, things that go on in our lives, and reading those signs of the times in the light of faith, and rediscovering again just how tied we are together, and how what I do affects you, and how what you do affects me, and all of us, because we're all in the body of Christ.